Alright, another draft physics video production. Figured I'd do a response video to this person. It's a person to be remain nameless, or you know, this compulsive liar. I mean, there's no point in calling him anything other than what he is, a compulsive liar. He can't make a single sentence, can't compose a sentence that's actually got something, some elements of truth in it. Even elements of truth are missing. And it's just it's just an example of just how illogical, foolish, stupid, ignorant human beings can be. They come in this really dumb variety, you know, that can't do the simplest little bits of fair logic kind of thing, rational, reasonable. He's like some kind of fanatic Muslim mullah or something. His religion is so deep, and his imperviousness to reason, and his willingness to lie. You know, I don't know if you call it bullying or whatever, but I mean, it's obvious. You know, badgering somebody with a falsehood over and over again when they've fully responded to the point and argued it, and they just keep doing it like you didn't respond when you did. And it's just such a tacky and cheap and silly and stupid and ignorant tactic, but that's all they have, so they have to go with it.
All right, welcome back, YouTube, to another live stream and video recording for afterwards. So in this live stream and video recording, we're going to be sussing through some more of
whatever this sussing thing is. All right, so first, you know, now he's got my Skype up for some reason. I don't know why. I'm obviously not communicating with this person on Skype. And you know, and then they have a troll account in his chat, and he still hasn't figured out it's not me in the chat. Okay, somebody steals my icon, creates a fake channel, and he can't figure this out. I mean, it's just so fucking stupid.
Not God's bullshit. So this Inventum guy is a pathological, lying, narcissistic.
Okay, he hasn't proven a single lie. Yes, I'm narcissistic, of course. I mean, compared to you, yeah, I am amazing. It's just the truth. But anyway, so he doesn't back up a single claim he makes of any lies I'm guilty of. It's just complete bullshit, and he hasn't backed it up with a single piece of evidence. But he doesn't back up anything he says with anything called evidence.
Crazy person on the internet, also quite pseudo-intellectual in every way you can imagine.
Right, proven by nothing. Yeah, all my not quotable quotes. Right.
Is cowardly declining to debate me for the last 4 months.
I don't debate somebody who's this. You're an obnoxious, disgusting, rude piece of shit. I have no interest in debating you. I have every interest in seeing you squished by an elephant, stuck right in the elephant's ass until dead. Frankly, you're a terrible human being. What the fuck do you think I'd debate you for? What? I'd debate Adolf Hitler? No, I'd kick him in the nuts. You're a piece of shit, you lying cunt. Why the fuck would you think somebody would talk to you when you're compulsively lying about them? Fuck you.
On any of the subjects that I've challenged on that he talked.
Yeah, you know, there's absolutely no reason to engage in debate. Video responses work perfectly fine. Why don't you honestly play one of my physics videos and explain how you know better? Play the questions video or the experiment video and explain how those videos aren't perfectly reasonable.
Talks about all the time on his channels. His physics shit is bull fucking shit. His
it's proven by nothing. So he's made no physics argument. He's made the argument from, I don't have to listen to your story, because I already believe a story, and my story is completely proven by the evidence. I've proven there's bent space, and I've proven there's virtual photons. That's right, that's what physics calls them, virtual photon. That's like the same thing as saying ghostaton, right? They believe in ghostotons, and he's talking about falsifiability. No evidence of dark matter, no evidence of any of this shit. No corroborating evidence that a photon has ever been bent by gravity. No corroborating evidence that a gravity wave has ever been heard by any interferometer. Nothing. It's all unfalsifiable bullshit.
The imposition argument fucking sucks. Even if his points get granted.
The imposition argument is about the most fundamental mismanners kind of notion of ethics and decency there is. The idea of not imposing on something is just about like A or B of the ABCs of decency or ethics or value. Not imposing. It's one of the first things you do when you want to be a good person is not impose on others.
That it's 99% of instances that consent is required for risk. It's still begging the question fallacy, and therefore...
It's not begging the question. Consent means that you don't have an obligation to prove or to demonstrate that what you're doing isn't going to be harmful. If somebody consents to the activity, you're evading responsibility, essentially. You no longer have responsibility because the victim has consented to the activity. When you don't have it, regardless of why you don't have it, doesn't matter why you don't have it, not having it means you have to defend what you're doing because you're fully responsible. You can't take the responsibility and place it in somebody else's pocket and force them to explain. It's all on you. And that's the simple point being made. And when it's all on you, it's impossible to defend procreation because the risks are catastrophic and you have no good reason to impose them.
Not universal. It's not the exception to the rule, so it's a fallacy. And it's not 99%, as we've already highlighted. But he abandoned that in a recent engagement.
So, lie. There's no evidence I ever abandoned anything. A lie. It's just a fucking lie. There's nothing else to say. It's a lie. There's no evidence of me ever abandoning anything.
And then tried to change the subject to his physics.
Just more nonsense. I separate my two channels because people don't like the mixture. They don't even like, any other subjects mentioned on some channel. So that's why I made different channels. It wasn't because I wanted to put my content on different channels. It's because the little complainers obliged me to do so, because they just couldn't stand, that I might talk on some other subject. But that's the only reason. There's no other reason. The history proves it. So you're just making up crap here. And that, why should somebody have some respect for somebody who just makes this shit up? You're just making up shit.
Bullshit to muddy the waters because not that many people are interested in the physics.
So it's another big lie. There are people who are interested and people who aren't. That's the way it is. Yeah, physics isn't that in most people. The most watched TV show on TV, I would bet, isn't a story about physics.
Bullshit. And he basically said that he, right here, as we can quote on the screen.
All right, so, I already mentioned in a video, this isn't me, okay? The guy stole my icon and is doing trollish foolery, and you fell for it. Now, apparently, YouTube doesn't let you go to these people's channels anymore in the chat, which I don't understand. So, but I'm sure the person who's running the room can go to their account page and see that it's no videos there. It's not me, retard. You're a fool. Arguing with a fool. A liar arguing with a liar.
You claim that my theory is unfalsifiable, but it is. First off, that first sentence, no. I claim that it's this, unfalsifiability, which is...
So this didn't even make any sense. I already did this, right? This is kind of like, what the fuck is he talking about? You call it unfalsifiability. Unfalsifiability is some kind of other feature that some person would have. You can't even get like first and third and second person correct here in the right order. Who are you talking about? There's no such thing. I'm not guilty of unfalsifiability. It's not like some crime. And again, this is such a stupid argument. I'm the one stating that who cares, right? Regular physics, all of their theories are unfalsifiable. How is the notion of bent space not an unfalsifiable? It's just a magical, invisible force that just makes stuff move. How is that not an unfalsifiable claim? They call it a virtual photon in quantum mechanics. Do you understand that? Because they can't account for its existence at all. It has no energy. It has no reality. It's virtual. It's not even a real thing. Can you get more unfalsifiable than the claim of a virtual photon did it? That's ghost particle, right? Virtual photon, ghost photon. How do you get more unfalsifiable than blaming it on a ghost photon? And you go through the list. Their theory is full of unfalsifiable models. The point is you have to judge the model by how simply and completely it explains the experiments. And that's the job of physics. And my argument is plainly that no one's really scrutinized their physics and it doesn't really work. As I've pointed out with the single slit experiment, why are there two waves, two wave functions? In the double slit, why aren't there four wave functions? That would be the rule if they were going to be consistent.
It's right on the screen right here. As you can see, the examples are just the exact same thing that he's doing ultimately. He has no test of his own if you want the summary.
All right, so I didn't, again, I already said this. I did a video called Experiments. There's all kinds of tests that can be done. I've pointed out how they're the ones, okay? Conventional physics is the one who didn't repeat the experiment. You show me the repeat of the famous Eddington experiment that was done with commensurate technology, with a telescope that's just as good. Show me where they repeated the experiment. This has never been repeated. And there's more than one case of that. So again, you're claiming I'm guilty of these crimes when the physics you're defending is obviously guilty. Obviously. They claim detector experiments were done that were never done.
If you don't like reading, he has no test of his own to prove his claims. But
I've pointed them out. There's a bunch of them.
He critiques other people's tests and then claims that he has the truth and that their tests.
I claim that I'm being more honest than they are, yes. I don't claim there was detector experiments, okay? I don't pretend that the Stern-Gerlach was an electron experiment. I don't make the bold claims they make that gravity bends light twice as much when they don't really have evidence of it at all.
Are false. And just to get the evidence of him confidently claiming that he has the truth and that their tests are false.
I claim I have a model that works better and that's simpler. And that's my only obligation here.
Here we have his thesis on his website. I mean, does his website not represent him? Is that what we're going to get a bunch of the sycophants and Mendrones saying now? Does his website not represent him? Like, what do you...
Why don't you read it? Yeah, okay, let's read it. I think this beginning is real well written. So the abstract is, at some point in the early 1900s, the science of physics committed itself to a confused dualism model of reality, where things could be more than one thing. That is, superposition, and this whole idea that something could be a wave and a particle. Just doesn't, it's complete nonsense. The controversy of waves versus particles became the compromise. Okay, so instead of having an honest fight about figuring out whether it is a wave or whether it is a particle, they gave up on trying to figure out what the right answer is and just did some mushy thing where they said, well, when we feel like thinking about it as a particle, we'll think about it as a particle, and when we feel like thinking about a wave, we'll think about it as a wave. Now, you might think that's good science. I think that's exactly the opposite of good science. Became the compromise of particles waving, and with that physics waved goodbye to a rationally comprehensible model description of material reality. So wave-particle duality is a non-answer to a simple question and a fundamental elemental question. And if you don't get that elemental question right, then everything you build upon it might be wrong. So if they have the wave-particle duality part wrong, well, then they probably have the idea of an electron having a frequency. They probably have that wrong too. And lots of other things become wrong. All right, I contend that the particle theory of reality was correct, and that's my contention, and that the science of physics needs to return to a post-Newton, pre-Einstein knowledge base and re-examine particle-based models of the universe's function. So that's my statement. Now, you think you could just read that and honestly report that that's exactly what I'm doing? I'm proposing a model that is simpler and it works better. Period.
What are you going to say next, So he says, on the correct theory of everything, he also meant, and then he tries, I've read through all this bullshit I could address.
Well, yeah, address any of it. Address how a magnet works. You tell me what conventional physics says, how does a magnet work? What is electricity? The two-slit experiment. Anything. Pick a subject and make an assertion. And if you defend conventional physics' assertions, I'll debunk you. Because their assertions are silly. Every one of them.
Every issue with this, but the main issue being you don't even have to understand all of this fucking shit that he's typing here. It's just the conclusion. He's claiming that that it does not contradict all of modern physics.
Okay, that's not what I claim. So again, the conclusion isn't all that much to read, right? It's a tiny little paragraph. Why can't he just honestly read the conclusion? because that's not what it says. So, yeah, you know, it's just this constant lying. Every single assertion he makes is backed up with a lie. All right, in this paper, I have outlined a clear path to the unification of gravity, the electromagnetic spectrum, time dilation, and magnetism. So I'm just saying all the forces, everything is unified by this theory. So besides it being a simpler and a working model, it unifies physics, something Einstein spent his whole life looking for. The purpose is to merely establish the foundation for a larger claim that all energetic force is just one variant manifestation of the migration of elemental quanta, that is, the movement of energy through the universe in the form of what we call forces. And all those forces are really just one kind of thing, essentially, a bit of momentum, moving the speed of light. Anyway, the truth to be revealed and hopefully accepted is that the universe is incomprehensibly thick with energy. It's a push universe. And that we only see and function in a minute portion of that universe labeled with specific polarization and frequencies. Okay, I could have said emergent portion or something. It should be understood that this paper is only intended to be complete enough to justify fair testing and review. So that's exactly. I'm asking for testing, and I'm inviting anybody who wants to in some way demonstrate how any of the assertions I'm making are incorrect. Okay, the author sincerely has no bad faith knowledge of any existing well-proven fact of mathematics or conceptual vision destructive to the viability of this theoretical perspective. So I'm merely stating I have heard no argument that in fact does debunk the theory, the model, proves the model doesn't work or isn't much simpler. So on either of those two scores, the only scores I think matter, how well does it explain the experiments and how completely, and how simple is it? That's it. And I got an A on both of those. Okay, and I've heard nothing else. All right. In fact, it has been the author's experience that this new model easily conforms to existing science, so that is the experiments, and provides solid answers to long-asked questions. So the end. What is a magnet? It explains a magnet's a filter. Okay, so instead of doing that simple thing, he does his lousy, lying paraphrase that's not at all honest to that statement.
And that what he has is true, and all of modern physics is false. But it doesn't.
So I never said any of those words. It's not what I said. I'm clearly saying they have it wrong, just like they have plus and minus labeled wrong. They made other mistakes. That's clearly what I'm saying. They made more than just that mistake.
Contradict any of the physical theories, any of the physical experiments, that specifically. And then he claims that
yes, and I'm just saying, well, can you show me the experiment that my theory can't explain? That's what I'm asking you to do.
Therefore it doesn't contradict any of the observations that they make either.
No, this word observation doesn't mean anything, because then you get into interpretations. You don't see waves, do you, when light moves somewhere? They're claiming there's waves. Can you see them? Can you observe them? No, you can't. It's their model. I have a model that works better.
Because their physical tests are ultimately the observations. They predict the physical...
They don't predict anything ever, so that's just more silly. You know, that's a silly notion that they predict something they didn't know ahead of time. They don't do that. They don't predict outcomes. They just formalize them. They have to be told what the outcome is going to be before they can predict it. That's the truth of it. Their formula doesn't predict something they didn't already know.
Observations with the physical tests, and Gary doesn't have a physical test.
So again, that's a lie. I've cited the experiments that should be done. I can pretty much prove there's no wave interference in the radar interference experiment if they just change where the antennas are. They can do the experiment and it can be demonstrated that the waves can't possibly be interfering with each other because they never interact with each other. It's not possible for them to interfere with each other, and the experiment will create the same results. So there's different experiments listed that will prove their theory is crap.
To claim that they are false or true, that contradicts what they're saying. Okay, so it's unfalsifiability. It's the fact.
So again, I've brought up the Eddington experiment. I've pointed out how they had the most perfect eclipse in the history, in really modern history, over the most technically advanced country, a broad, perfect eclipse, straight overhead, noon, shortest amount of atmosphere to go through, and nobody repeated the Eddington experiment. A perfect eclipse over the most technically advanced nation on planet Earth, and they didn't redo the most the experiment that made Einstein a household word. You say that's good science. I say that's evidence of their failure.
Policy of unfalsifiability. It's the same thing as he even goes as far as to claim that the things that he's talking about, the pushing and pulling, and pushing and particles pushing each other, are invisible.
Well, of course they're all invisible. We already know that. There's no way to detect gravity except to see what gravity does to electrons. There's no way to detect a force, frankly, without sticking an electron in the way to block the force. So me and regular physics are bound by the same limitations. The forces are always going to be invisible. All right? So that's just a fact. Now the model is all that really matters. You're going to give somebody a model. You can't see inside the engine, and we're both trying to guess what's going on inside the engine. They have virtual photons and bent space. I have little mechanical pieces of momentum, okay, that move in straight lines. Really simple.
Like if someone was to claim that, I have tiny invisible unicorns, his statements are just as valid as...
So again, all I have to say is dark matter, dark energy, everything they talk about, superposition, these are all invisible phenomena. None of them can be observed in any real sense of the word observe. They can't be. It's just a fact of physics. This notion that somehow my theory is more unfalsifiable than theirs is just a lie. Nobody honest could say it, because clearly bent space is unfalsifiable. A time dimension is unfalsifiable. Everything they're asserting is dependent on the existence of an unfalsifiable claim. Invisible matter. They believe in it. Again, quantum mechanics is founded on the existence of a virtual photon. Do you understand what the word virtual means? It means it doesn't fucking exist.
I have tiny, invisible unicorns living in my anus. Unfortunately, these cannot be detected by any kind of scientific experiment.
So, I'm not the one saying that, am I? Yeah, no, that's why I had a video labeled experiments. Because I'm not saying that. I'm saying exactly the opposite of that. That these truths can be teased out. But you have to be willing to manipulate the experiments a little and play with them. And physics quote mines the experiment. They only care about the experiment when it confirms what they're trying to prove, and that's it. They don't want to look when it's not doing what they want it to do. As soon as it stops doing what they want it to do, they pretend it didn't happen.
So ultimately, these are the same department. It's the same department as, like, priests can literally turn water into the blood of Jesus, or wine into the blood of Jesus. Surely we can examine the liquid and see.
So again, their theory is dependent on something called dark matter. Do you understand what the dark matter conceptually is? It's a magical kind of matter that doesn't do anything like regular matter except produce gravity. So, like the invisible man can pick up things, but that's the only thing we can watch it do, is pick up things. Well, what's the difference between that and bent space as an answer? Bent space is just as unfalsifiable as invisible gremlins.
If it at least changes chemically, can we not? No, because transubstantiation is not about a physical or chemical change, but a change in substance, which of course is not a material change, and therefore impossible to falsify.
Well, it's easy to falsify the fact that whether something like if a wave of soldiers is made out of individual soldiers. That you can figure out, right? And that's my assertion. I assert to you that I can demonstrate that anything they call a wave is only a group phenomenon. That no elemental thing in physics waves.
So, furthermore, the claim is not that it might be happening, just like with Gary, but it certainly is happening, adding to the fallaciousness of the claim. So the only evidence for this is some ambiguous verse.
So this is just so unscientific, because I guess anybody who really understands anything about physics would concede we can't see the forces. We can't see them. We can only see them based on what they do in the universe to other elements. And that's it. So that's always going to be a limitation. So anything, any statement about how it's happening has to have an element of unfalsifiability in the sense you will never see them doing it. You can only explain why it's more rational to believe one thing over the other.
In the Bible so ambiguous that over 1 billion Christians don't subscribe to the belief of transubstantiation occurring. So we have unfalsifiability, the belief of certainty, and very weak evidence. Everywhere where I just put Christians, you could just put...
All right, so whatever. So this isn't about physics. Again, physics arguments are about physical claims. Claims about the physical universe. I'm making claims about the physical universe, and I can back those claims up with evidence. Why don't you make a counter physical claim about the universe? So all I'm asking you to do is defend one element of the standard model that's in disagreement with my statements. And I'll show you why you're wrong. Why you're stupid to believe it.
Men drones or in Menham. These people don't even ultimately understand like how to perform basic science and what it...
See, no, you're the one who doesn't understand what basic science is in the case of physics. It's about subnuclear elements. That's what everything's really made out of. There's really just one universe. Do you dispute this statement? There's really just one universe. It's the little one. That's the only one that's real. The big one just emerges out of what the little one's doing, asshole. Can you counter-argue that statement?
Operates on. That sounds so condescending, but it's true. It's just true. They actually don't understand how to perform basic science, basic making a hypothesis and then predicting the hypothesis. And that's when...
Predicting the hypothesis. It's just more nonsense. Give me the example. So beyond predicting, let's say, that Dirac predicting antimatter, and then we found it. Surprise, surprise. Right? But what did you find? Did you really prove that any such thing ever existed or ever will exist? No. So tell me what they predicted. They didn't predict anything, idiot. They're just using the word prediction to say, look, I rolled the dice 500 times and I found out, yeah, all the numbers come up the same number of times. Whatever face is on the dice, yeah, the faces come up an even number of times. They didn't predict anything.
You can claim something is true or false or not. They don't get that. They're just incredibly ignorant, incredibly deluded people. So, yeah, that's...
Yeah, well, you're incredibly petty, and you're so obviously full of just hate and insecurity. I mean, you're just so obvious.
We're dealing with, we're suffering here. And let's take some of his quotes, his direct quotes, okay?
Oh, that'll be new. All right, let's see if he does that. How much you want to bet?
Oh, we have the... on Vloggerdome. This is from years ago, so you might try to say that this was no longer his...
Oh, great. Yeah, so why can't you do something from more recent? I do a video every fucking day. Every fucking day I make a video. You can't quote one of the newer videos? You had to go back to Vloggerdome, which is, what, 6 years ago? That sounds pretty desperate. Yeah. That sounds like somebody quote mining the evidence. Doesn't that sound like a quote mine? Yeah.
Philosophy or something, but that just goes to show how much this guy changes the goals, and he changes everything you can imagine about this philosophy. In no way, shape, or form has he been consistent in any way, shape, or form. So
another not proven lie.
Yeah, let's just highlight that in this Vloggerdome video from years ago. So it's about physics. He wants to debate this 5 years ago, and so let's look. We're in the transcript here, so let's type in.
So let's understand. This channel was called Draft Physics. And I've already conceded I made some mistakes in the past. You know, just boldly going where no man has gone before. Well, yeah, when you're the first one, you know, treading new territory, you can make some mistakes. And I've made some mistakes. But they weren't because I declared it has to be an absolute truth that this is what it is. That's why the channel's called Draft Physics, fuckhead. What do you think I called it that for, fuckhead?
Visible? Okay, so he literally says that the circumstances are invisible. And that, just like an invisible unicorn living in his ass, that he can't, detect.
Well, why don't you let me say it? Let's hear what I said. Yeah, the forces are invisible. Conventional physics calls them virtual photons, retard. They don't call them invisible photons. They call them virtual, because they don't even think they exist. So they think something that doesn't exist makes a magnet move. Fuckhead.
With any kind of physical experiment, but he's saying it's the truth that there's invisible unicorns living in his ass. Okay? We have to plug in our headphones here. Okay, there we go.
Brilliant.
Hello, everybody that's in the chat, by the way.
Yeah, thank you for wasting my time. Yeah, one guy called Shit for Brain.
There it is. Okay. Good, we got it now. So it doesn't blow everyone's headphones off their heads. Okay, here we go.
It's the same.
Of course, it's playing through the fucking speakers.
It's not quite the same. So this is the first almost paradox of reality, is that we have this circumstance where there's an interaction that can be perceived as being invisible, essentially, or visible, dramatic. So something changes its direction by 90 degrees.
Amazing. So he's picking on something that's so basic and so true that, I mean, only an idiot would think they couldn't understand this. So as I pointed out, it's just amazing that this is what he's picked on. So I pointed out if you had two pieces of energy, two pieces of momentum, and they did interact with each other, and the interaction was they reflected perfectly. It was a perfect reflection. No losses, nothing. That if the two forces were both cue balls, you know, white, and they hit each other, it would look to the universe exactly like the two things went right through each other. Because one's going that way and one's going to leave going this way. And it's going to be exactly the same as a reflection. You wouldn't be able to tell the universe apart from the ones that went right through each other or missed each other and the universe where they hit each other. Because you'd have something going this way and something going that way. It'd be exactly the same result. And the only way you could see the difference is if this was an 8 ball and this was a cue ball. Then when they hit each other and they reflected, well, yeah, then the cue ball's going this way and the 8 ball's going this way. And if they missed each other, yeah, the cue ball's going this way, and the 8 ball is going that way. So it's a different universe then. Oh. Light. Can't use the solar light at this time. But anyway, I mean, I've been over that one. It's just so obvious. I mean, I can't believe this idiot thinks that's something he can nail me on. I mean, that's just, it's almost too silly. It's just so factual.
Or nothing really happened. And that's the mechanism of the universe, the function, is that really it's just directional information being exchanged once things get established in a circumstance. So we think of it as...
So there you have it, direct quote from his video. You can't possibly... It's exactly the same as claiming that there's an invisible unicorn living in it.
Okay, so it's obviously not even close to exactly like... So are you going to say that's an accurate statement when you say something's exactly like and it's not even close to exactly like? You know, let alone it just being loose language. So here you are arguing in defense of some sort of technical truth here, and you can't even get this language even close. Your metaphorical language isn't even close. But, I mean, it's just too stupid. I mean, I can't... You're asserting that what I'm saying about force and how it interacts isn't true? How is that not true? I mean, it's so fundamental. What physicist do you think would argue that what I just said there wasn't true? Halliday even conceded this argument.
His ass, and there's no physical experiment. He doesn't provide any physical experiment of his own that contradicts the modern physical experiments.
Okay, I have a video just made 4 days ago or whatever called Experiments. So again, this is just another lie. I've pointed out experiments that can be done that will get to the truth. And... over and over again. I've pointed out that they can do the Eddington experiment from space any day they want to. They don't have to wait for an eclipse. Any day. And that we have thousands of satellites with very good cameras on them. And all they have to do is swing the camera around, take a picture. A little time-lapse picture. But they don't do it. And there's a reason they don't do it. Because guess what? It doesn't work.
At all. And so he claims on my channel, when I was saying this in my last videos, and he joined up and he was...
So again, he's still under the delusion that that was me in the chat. I mean, I already made a video, right? Like yesterday or something, pointing out how it's not me. And he still hasn't gotten that information somehow. Amazing idiot.
Claiming that... Let's see if we can find it here really quick. Yeah, here it is. So he was claiming that he has proposed a laser bending experiment that physicists have never done. Okay, and now he says, and then he goes.
So again, he's not quoting me or even the stuff on my channel, right? He's talking to a troll, somebody who stole my identity and is trolling him with it. I mean, it's just so fucking lame.
Goes on to say that he's going to demolish everything. Let's see if we can find when he says demolish. Then he goes on to say, he's DraftScience on screen. Then he goes on to say, I'll make a video demolishing your line of reasoning here. Stay tuned in this live stream that we did. And he has no such thing uploaded in his last, he's just trying to change the subject. And
so that's a lie. I have a video uploaded right after I read that quote. I read that quote in the video. You're just a liar.
Manipulate everything to try to shift the burden of proof onto everyone else by talking about other people's tests. And he doesn't even provide a test in any of his recent videos. We'll just go through the transcripts of those recent videos because, man, now that
all right, so again, it's just a lie, one lie after another lie after another lie after another lie. All I've done is talk about experiments. In every video I make, I'm talking about experiments. I don't think there's a single video on this channel of my over 1,000 videos where I'm not talking about an experiment. Not a single one.
there's transcripts on YouTube, Gary is extra fucked over. I mean, he's not going to be able to lie profusely like this ever, like, anymore, you know?
So he has no evidence I lied about anything. So, again, bullshit, claim, slander, libel, you know.
Because there's so many, there's just transcripts now. So we could look up, like, how many times he mentions the word laser in every single one of these videos that he uploads. So, like, by the way, he doesn't make a video just addressing directly what I'm saying at all. So these are his recent uploads. And he doesn't address anything. He doesn't ever mention me in any of these videos.
Well, I did mention you in the end of the comment video. I played your video, whatever, so many minutes of it until you got really, really just insufferably fucktarded. You're insanely rude. I have no interest in always defending myself against your personal attacks. It's just complete bullshit. Nobody would tolerate that. Who do you think would? Name me somebody you've debated who you had any kind of, you just sat around making these kinds of accusations about them, and they had any interest in debating you personally. I'll debate your arguments, and you're not making any, and that's the clear facts that are being demonstrated right here. You're just lying. Everything you've said so far, derogatory about anything I've said or done, has been a lie so far. Even pointing to that old video. That's the best you could do, was find an old video where I was completely correct, where I didn't say anything inaccurate.
This is the video that he uploaded directly afterwards, directly after my video. That last video, it was 3 days ago. You guys can see on the screen there. We'll click on this. We'll go to the transcript. And we already listened to this video. He's just shifting the burden of proof onto, but he has the burden of proof because he's claiming that something is true and that everyone else is false. So
again, more horseshit, right? Yes, I'm claiming you're wrong if you think photons are wave. If you think a photon is a wave, you're misinformed. It's a ray of energy, and I can defend my argument.
He has the burden of proof. He's just such a scum-filled fucking liar. It's the same.
All scientists have the burden of proof, and my argument is regular physics hasn't met its burden. You believe that gravity bends light twice as much, a photon, twice as much as any other material object. You believe it. Why? Because they told you so? Because there is no real evidence. There's the Eddington experiment, a completely flawed experiment, and that's it.
Same thing that religious people do when they shift the burden of proof onto you to prove that their God exists, when it's just as valid as, when the evidence for or against their God is just as valid as a spaghetti monster or unicorns living in their anus, if you've ever heard the spaghetti monster now.
Virtual photon, virtual photon, virtual photon. Again, it's such an inane argument to make. Number one, I've never pointed out that regular physics is unfalsifiable. That's not my argument against them. Yes, they're unfalsifiable theories in the traditional sense, but my argument is yes, that's the nature of physics. All of the theories are going to have elements that are going to be unfalsifiable. The point is, I can demonstrate that their theory isn't consistent. It does make a mistake. It predicts things that don't happen. And that's a fact. Gravitational lensing, for example. Lots of places there should be light and there's no light.
Given by Richard Dawkins, it goes something like this. When the religious people put forward, you can't prove or deny that my God is true, that my God is false, so therefore my God is true.
So again, I've never used those kind of arguments. I don't care about those kind of arguments. It just doesn't matter. The point is you can reason. You can explain why it's a mistake to believe, and that's all that you really need to do. You can point out how all religions are stories. that there's no credible evidence of any of the acts they claim the God did, nor that he has any such powers to commit any acts in the world, perform any miracles, all of this stuff. And you can just demonstrate that there's just zero evidence. And I'm arguing that the evidence in this case is going to be meeting the evidence with a model. Their model has waves in it. I'm arguing that waves are emergent properties, not elemental properties. Elemental things can't wave.
Well, you can't confirm or deny that there's little microscopic spaghetti monsters flying around Mars right now, so that's just as valid as your claim that your God is true, and just like that, it's just as valid to claim that Gary has some sort of invisible pushers, as we heard earlier on in this video.
Bent space, invisible bent space. Again, you know, this is just such, like I said, this is such an inane argument to be making when conventional physics has so many unfalsifiable claims built into it. Virtual photons, entanglement, the claim that particles through some sort of superluminal communication know each other's state. There's no way to disprove that magic.
Without any sort of physical test to prove his theory that contradicts the modern physical test. So instead he shifts the burden.
So again, I'll just say it again. I have a video called Experiments. It's in the playlist. It's right there. There's lots of experiments that need to be done, and those experiments will tease out the truth.
Of proof, right? Unanswered questions. He shifts the burden of proof to all of these other scientific experiments when he is claiming that he has the truth. Okay?
I'm claiming I have a better model. Again, I'll just to say it again. So he's lying again. I'm not claiming I have the truth. I mean, obviously, I think I'm correct. But I'm claiming I have a model that suits the objectives of science better, in that it's more complete and it's simpler. And therefore, reasonable scientists should say it's in the lead. It's the better model, because it's one on the way you measure a model, completeness and simplicity.
If you can't understand that, what this is under 15 minutes, we've gone through all of this, we've provided all the evidence that we would ever need to provide.
All right, so he's provided no physical evidence of anything. He's cited no experiment. He's made no assertion about how physics really works and what is the truth. So he's made no counterclaim to a truth. So he's taken none of my statements about physical reality, that is, it's particles, not waves. He hasn't asserted that it's waves. He hasn't defended the argument that it's waves. He hasn't said a fucking thing regarding the physical explanation.
You're just a fucking idiot if you don't understand this. You're just not listening. You need to rewatch the video. Thank you. Okay, so let's go to, does he ever claim in this video anything about lasers? No, not a single time does he mention anything about his own laser experiment. He talks about...
So he said again, it's not my own laser experiment. Me and Pirro both talked about a laser experiment as a way of proving relativity one way or the other, by making essentially a light clock. And that with a light clock you can tell where you're moving because the light will move in a straight line and it doesn't care about your movement. So you could use lights, the fact that light's going to maintain a straight line while the Earth is moving, for example. And but the problems is figuring out you need a really long distance to shoot the laser, and you have to have a laser that stays in a small little point.
He doesn't even mention the word laser at all in this video, as you guys could see, this unanswered questions video. Let's move that over a little bit. So he doesn't even mention it one single time, as you can see, 0 out of 0. Okay, he doesn't, and he said in this video that he had a. So
I didn't say in any video. A troll comments to him, and then he puts the words in my mouth, and he's that stupid. But I did say, I responded to it. I explained exactly what I just explained about how, yes, I had a conversation with Pirro about a laser test. But there was flaws in the test. There's limitations to what you can do with lasers, and they're still not good enough for the experiment.
Laser bending experiment, okay, that he was going to provide, and it's nowhere to be found at all in any of his freaking things. So we've already highlighted that earlier on in this video. He says it in this video here.
So again, it's a lie. It's just an overt lie. It's in the video. I point out how that's not me in his chat, and I point out, I read the laser remark, and I pointed out how the laser experiment isn't my experiment.
So, and then he's going to make a video demolishing my my video, but he didn't do anything. He just did nothing at all. He's just a coward and a liar. So I have...
No, you're the liar, and you're obviously a coward, and you're obviously an asshole and an idiot and a moron.
Proposed a laser bending experiment. This is his direct quote on the screen, right there. Okay, a laser bending experiment.
Okay, so again, he's reading a troll's comment. Somebody who has created, stolen my identity, essentially. And he's too stupid to figure that out. None of his morons in his chat are smart enough to figure it out.
Experiment that physicists have never done. Okay, so total bullshit. Doesn't provide any evidence for anything. He just says basically that he has invisible unicorns living in his anus, and unfortunately these cannot be detected by any kind of scientific experiment.
Virtual photon, ghostaton. That's physics' theory. You ask them how does a magnet work, they're going to say, well, virtual photon does it. You know, when it pulls when it wants to and it pushes when it wants to. You know, that's going to be their explanation, asshole. And you're mocking me?
You know, so it's just complete ridiculousness. There's just no possibility to recover from this for anybody that is a sane person that's, you know, understands what's taking place. So yeah, we already looked down every single one of his science papers. We'll just go through each one of those really quickly to show you that he never mentioned anything about lasers, anything about his own laser experiment specifically, his own laser.
I don't list any experiments in the statement. I'm describing the model and how the model fits the classic experiments, but I don't mention the experiments.
Experiment. We'll go through the other link that's on there.
I mean, everybody knows that magnets turn and do things, you know. I just have to fit what the physical facts. I don't have to list how we know these truths because they're all observable truths.
The two slit experiment one, which is other people's science experiment involving lasers. Okay, that's another science experiment completely that you are critiquing. You're not actually making your own that contradicts what they are saying. You're just saying.
So that's an amazingly stupid statement. Again, I've done the experiment both with you know, the interferometer, the beam splitter, and I'm the one pointing out the facts that the beam splitter doesn't create two equal beams. I'm pointing out how they make a bunch of assertions that aren't true. And you didn't debunk any of the statements I made regarding any of those experiments and show how I'm wrong about a single thing I said. So you didn't point out how the critique is incorrect. And of course it's my obligation, if I'm going to propose an alternative theory, to explain why the existing theory sucks and should be thrown away and replaced with a better theory. That's exactly my obligation. Retard.
This is my opinion about this. So you can't claim that it's true, that it's just a truth, like you do ultimately. You can't do that confidently. But you're just such an arrogant pile of shit that you do that.
Yes, I can. I can demonstrate a good reason for confidence that evolution is the right answer and God is the wrong answer. I'm just making the same argument. I'm saying the evidence points to momentum moving the speed of light and doesn't have anything to do with any kind of wave crap. There's every evidence that the momentum moves in straight lines until it hits an electron.
That all the time. You're a religious, arrogant, stupid pile of cowardly shit that doesn't show up to debate the freaking subject and get it highlighted because you know.
You don't know anything about the subject. Again, so how can you debate a subject for which you are completely ignorant? You've demonstrated that you do not understand a single physics experiment. You've never done one. You've never even looked at one. And yet you know what the truth is. If that isn't arrogance, I don't know what is.
He would get freaking wrecked in a debate with me about the subject. He would get completely demolished. I don't even have to go into all of the physical experiments and everything because he doesn't have a physical experiment that contradicts the physical experiments, and he's claiming that he has. I can,
you know, I can play the Professor Lewin clip if you want me to play that. I think I have it loaded here actually. You know, it's pretty funny. So this is the video that some asshole who linked me to this stupid superhuman dance stupid video. This is going to be their grand pile of shit tomorrow. So he couldn't even post the video. He had to make it a premiere. So let's see which one of these is the best one. I think this is the one where he's doing the double slit. Okay, it might be this one. Let's see. Okay, here, this is funny. Okay, so we'll play this. So this is a professional MIT professor explaining the double slit pattern.
Okay. And there you see it. There you see a maximum darkness, a maximum darkness, a maximum darkness.
Okay, so you see what he just did? So this is a really horrible image. So it's MIT. You think he'd have a better image of the two-slit experiment. But there's usually like 7 or 8 blocks in the center one, and then 3 or 4 in the next line, and 2 or 3 in the next one. But there's a gigantic gap. Okay, there's a place where there's little dark lines. You can see those, right? And so see how he says, look, there's light, and then there's dark, and then there's light, and then there's really big, giant dark, and then there's light, right? So you completely glossed over the fact that there's 2 patterns in there. And their math only explains the light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. So there should be actually another light spot there, and it's missing, right? Quite obviously. There's another bright spot just missing, completely missing. He doesn't explain that. He has no clue why it's there. They don't have any wave theory that explains it. So this, to sit there and tell me, well, how am I wrong in that critique? You just heard him go, there's light. Let's hear him do it again. I mean, it's clearly not the pattern that exists on the wall. Everything he wrote on this blackboard has nothing to do with the damn pattern that's on the fucking wall.
The lights. Make sure I have mine. Okay. And there you see it. There you see a maximum darkness. A maximum dark.
So maximum was the center one. Darkness. Maximum. Darkness.
Darkness. A maximum darkness. And so on.
There's no and so on. Right? The pattern's obviously broken. There's no... And his math is saying it's supposed to be... Yes, this is supposed to be twice as big, the one in the middle, as the ones on the sides. And that's what the math says. But the rest of it, they have no accounting for it. Their math would say there's supposed to be a bright spot where this hole is. And it's not there. That's the truth. That's what's in his math.
And the separation, if I didn't make a mistake, between the maxima is indeed about 7 centimeters.
So obviously there's no 7 centimeters between these blobs here. So that's kind of sloppy. I mean, obviously it's a very poorly done double slit experiment. The other lecture he has, the 802X, has a better version of it. But anyway, just for the sake of your edification, that these are the issues being debated. They say it's waves. Waves don't explain this pattern. So waves is not the right answer. Feynman said it. It's not a wave. Feynman said this all happens because the universe does play dice. Okay, God does play dice with the universe. That's what Feynman really believed. That the universe is fundamentally randomizing these locations. So Feynman was an idiot, but the point is that Feynman didn't agree with the conventional theory, and yet he's one of the founding fathers of quantum mechanics. And this is the theory you're defending. So you're sitting here ridiculing me for pointing out how their evidence doesn't match their assertions. That somebody shouldn't do that. Somebody shouldn't fact check physics. They should just get away with bullshit like this. Lightness, darkness, and so on. There's no and so on pattern.
The truth. Again, it's the fallacy of unfalsifiability. We've gone over this a bunch of times. It's the equivalent to saying what he said earlier on about it being invisible. It's just totally invisible. And
so I've responded to this like 1,700 times now, right? I mean, it's just a bullshit assertion. Their theory has far more unfalsifiable elements in it than mine does. Mine asserts explicit, solid things about the existing mechanism. And all you have to find is one place where it doesn't work, and the whole thing blows up.
There's just nothing, and in the other end, there's something pushing. And he said that earlier on. He said the word's invisible. I mean, literally, that it's invisible. It's the same thing as saying
Yes, light is invisible. All of the energy as it moves, the light moving across here in front of me, I can't see it. Okay, all of the energy is invisible until it hits an electron and moves it. The only way we can see what energy does is by watching it move electrons and protons. Do you assert some other truth? Do you assert that there is some way to see a force without it affecting an electron and proton? I mean, could you actually make some sort of physics assertion, please? You're going to argue physics, and yet you're never going to assert anything regarding physical reality? I mean, you're an amazing baboon.
I have tiny, invisible unicorns living in my ass. Unfortunately, these cannot be detected by any kind of physical experiment, but it's the...
So again, I could do this. This is how I could mock physics. I could do this little bullshit, right? Is that a great argument? No.
The truth. Therefore, it's the truth. That's what Gary is saying. All right?
No, that's exactly what conventional physics is saying. We did it. Well, do you think they did it? Do you think there really is something called the Higgs boson?
So, while it may be actually, while it may, just to be really clear again, while it actually may be a fact that tiny invisible pushers or, unicorns living in Gary's ass actually exist, tiny mythological creatures are occupying his ass.
So again, virtual photon. They're asserting ghosticles. Okay, little ghosticles. Okay, so let's just do that. I can just mock every single thing. Little bent gremlins, little gremlins that bend the space with their little crowbars.
Then it's I like how they say this, at the lower end of the alimentary canal instead of his ass. But anyways, yeah, it's his ass, right? He's just pulling all of this unicorn shit out of his ass.
All right, so he hasn't gotten to a single real explicit argument about physics. So he just keeps using metaphors instead of, so he never gets to the apples. He just keeps talking about oranges forever. And again, these are arguments I could use against conventional physics, but I don't think they're the best arguments. The best argument against bent space isn't just the fact that it's unfalsifiable. It's that it's too simplistic. It has no mechanism. There's no energy involved. It makes no sense.
And so it is a theory that is constructed so it cannot be falsified in any way. Therefore, should not be taken seriously.
Okay, so again, somebody please point out to me how bent space isn't an unfalsifiable ghost theory. Explain to me how virtual photon isn't completely a ghost theory. An invisible particle bullshit theory.
Considering that it doesn't have any scientific evidence, all right? So, there you go. It's completely dismantled, under 20 minutes. Absolutely no excuse to not respond to this. Thank you all for listening. That's all I really wanted to talk about today. Hello, Litex. I see you.
Yeah, you're the only person in your stupid idiot chat, which is a good sign. I mean, I guess that most people are figuring out you're a cracked pot.
In the chat over there, the scientific experiment, the scientific method is thought in ninth grade. LOL, taught, you meant, or that's not how you spell taught either, but anyhow. Yeah, so you gave it...
Right. The scientific method is do the Einstein experiment 100 years ago and don't do it again. Even when there's a perfect eclipse again over the most technically advanced country. I just keep looking up. I mean, it was perfect. 12 noon eclipse. I mean, it's the best kind of, most eclipses are on the horizon. You got to go through more atmosphere. It couldn't have been perfect. The weather was perfect. Everything was perfect. They didn't do the experiment.
Good shot. So, yeah, look, yes, it is taught in ninth grade. I get what you're saying, though. And yes, this is completely like child-type shit that Gary is performing here. It's not some sort of coherent methodology for refuting all of modern physics. And just the fact that he is putting this forward as that is embarrassing, humiliating, and you should be humiliated.
Yes, well, I think I'll, make a copy. Somebody copy this video for me. So, just so we can rub it in later. Rub it in really hard. Like, what an asshole you were, fuckhead. Okay? I have just complete confidence. I'm going to be proven in the future to be right. It's just going to be a fact. And people like you, yeah, I'm going to make your life as miserable as I can.
For thinking that this is a smart human being, basically, at the end of the day. And I wanted to do this very nicely initially, but Gary just lied and slandered about me and tried to destroy me.
So, more lies. There won't be any evidence that I lied about him anywhere. A single thing was a lie, anything. Any statement of mine that was a lie about him. Not a single statement. I have no evidence to back that up. He's the one who said, was calling people names right behind their back. He was the one guilty of that crime, not me.
for months on end, and now I've done nothing but provide exact evidence in one concise, simple video. There's just absolutely no possible fucking way you could possibly. Yeah, Latex, you really got to up your fucking standards, okay? That was bullshit. We don't accept that shit here on this channel. Those are subpar fucking comments, but it's okay.
All right, so he didn't make a single assertion regarding the physics of the world we exist in, this universe. He asserted nothing. So I can't challenge his physics because he won't detail any of it. So you can't get more of a ghost particle than that. The unicorn is not even made out. It's made out of cellophane. I mean, you see right through it. I mean, you can't even tell it's a unicorn, but he won't state anything because he doesn't know anything about physics.
It was in the live chat, I guess. So thank you all for listening, and I hope you have as least shitty of an evening or afternoon or morning or whatever it is wherever you are. And just a brief 20-minute video crushing everything that Inmen Dumb is saying. So yeah, I'm trying to think of anything.
Right, superhuman dunce. Yeah, whatever.
Else that we could cover here. What else did he say? We'll just document more of his shit talking here. Oh, he shifts the burden of proof. We've already highlighted that. So just rewatch this video all the way through if you want a complete debunk of Inmendum's cowardice, bullshit, and just garbage science. Okay? So, all right, thank you. And again, I'm still a negative utilitarian and an antinatalist, and I would press the red button, all that good stuff. You know, if we get 100% of it, yeah, so only if, yeah.
If we get 100% of it. So, yeah, there's a real likelihood, even when you had 10 people somewhere, you're going to get 100% vote. Yeah, okay. So you're really not for anything because there'll never be, nobody will, there'll never be 100% vote for anything.
So that's all I really want to talk about. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you have as least shitty of an evening or afternoon or morning or whatever it is, wherever you are. And until next time, oh, I sent Gary on every medium. This is, if I didn't cover this already, I think I did. I sent him on every medium. It just says waiting for Do Not God to accept invitation on Skype. I added him on another account as well. There was the only two Do Not Gods. I sent them both friend requests, and the guy just doesn't even fucking respond, okay? He could have joined.
Why would I respond to you, you scum, you piece of fucking scum, you lying sack of smelly, dirty, crappy shit. I want nothing to do with you, and yes, you're despisable. Why the fuck would I have anything called a civil conversation with a compulsive fucking liar? Amazing. I have nothing to say to you but defend your lies, asshole. Till you do that, there's no hope.
The last so many months on any of the Sundays at 12 noons, we invite people to join in the link below every single Sunday at 12 noon. He's never joined to defend his bullshit. No.
Again, why would I? I know how to make a video. I don't need to join your fucking pissant, pukey little chat. And you're clearly not capable of rational conversation until you can demonstrate you know something about physics. Make a physics assertion. Defend something about conventional physics that I've attacked. Defend wave theory. Defend something. All right? And then we can have a conversation. But until then, there's nothing to debate because you have no theory.
One single time. Anything anyone disagrees with me on, you could just join and debate vocally at over the last 10, 11 weeks, you could do that. Okay, every Sunday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. So be there Sundays at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time and defend what you're saying, Gary. Or send me a...
I don't need to do any of that shit. You've made your assertions. You've lied through this whole video. I've demonstrated how you've provided no evidence that I lied about anything or that I was even wrong about anything. You haven't made a single specific assertion relevant to anything I've done. You've just lied.
Message back here and add me on here and stop being a coward, and let's debate the subject. Why won't you debate the subject? Oh, it's because you're going to get wrecked, isn't it? Yes, and you've done nothing but lie and slander me for months on end, so you deserve no...
No, you're exactly the opposite is the truth, and it's proven by every single one of these response videos. He can't make a coherent video on the subject of physics. He has nothing to say. The falsifiable argument is obviously irrelevant in the subject of physics. Sean Carroll says there's multiverses. Is there any way to disprove the existence of a multiverse?
Sympathy from anyone that is fucking sane. You fucking moron. There should be nothing less but a complete disregard of this man after this point. If you're a sane human, you don't regard this person as...
Alright, so just say the same thing about Einstein and every physicist that's popular, because every single one of them makes assertions that are unfalsifiable. Every single one of them.
A figure that can be looked up to at all anymore at this point. It's over completely. It's game over. The guy's a moron. He's a liar. He's a scumbag. Okay? Thank you all for listening, and until next time. And this is ample evidence in this video for that. Okay. All right. Bye now.
Amazing. I mean, it just is kind of amazing, right? He really does expect that somehow we could have a debate about something, and the debate wouldn't just be, you know, hurling insults at each other. There's nothing else to debate. I mean, he's a despicable liar. Everything he said is a lie. Every single sentence in this fucking video was bullshit. Alright, so anyway. Shouldn't waste time on this probably, but like I said, we do have something to look forward to tomorrow. So, the big debunk. So this is titled, and you know, there's no hope here really. You know, the slit experiments are you're cooked. Okay, I've done it. I've completed the task of demonstrating this isn't a wave theory. So anyway, DraftScience, it's the photon stupid, debunked in less than 7 minutes. So he's going to do science in 7 minutes. Oh, great. But whatever. We'll wait and see. But he certainly isn't going to be able to demonstrate that anything I said in my last video was wrong. So he's going to fail. Spectacularly, I predict. Alright. So, till next time. And such. So forth and whatnot, and whatever. But really, crazy people on this planet.